but more rely on the twist of the hips for the power, because that's much more consistent, because this doesn't have really a huge range of motion unless you're coming up a lot as you're hitting. So this is why using your hips for power and just kind of staying low through the ball usually keeps the ball low.
Ball back, now down one. Great serve. And that is in by several feet.
Last video from Pickleball Getaways, Mexico. A lot of talk about power paddles, a lot of talk about people with racket sports background coming into the sport. This video is going to focus on sort of that third shot drive and sort of harnessing the power. So adding some spin and consistency to make sure the ball lands in. Obviously no introduction on the left, really no introduction in the middle.
Thank you.
Preston probably got one of the hardest. He probably hits the ball harder than most people, you know, Ben? Yeah? Yeah. Sure. All right, so we're gonna feed you a couple. Just do, Preston, do your normal stuff, and then we'll work on some contact point, face angle, swing pass, and things to sort of get some top spin, and we'll sort of understand like the ratio of everything. So then you may want to clear out because we're gonna let the big dog eat.
No.
Sometimes.
Gosh, these are elite drives.
These are perfect.
Just a bit long.
Just a little bit.
All right, one more.
One more.
Feeling loose?
I'm feeling good.
All right. Obviously, if he hits me, great shot. If he hits the net and it goes over, great shot. Other than that, I mean, honestly, if I was playing in a tournament, I saw you getting in that motion, I'd go sit on the sidelines and let it. I may yell 4 to the people on the next court
Yeah,
over.
4 fully different results there.
Yeah. So you're probably going full power. So Ben, let's talk about like, what are we thinking about as far as power versus spin versus consistency, and sort of how we live in that?
I mean, there's certainly varying levels of how much power you're putting into it, combined with spin and all that, based on what you're trying to do, whether it's a drive and then a drop kind of philosophy, which works in a lot of situations, or where you're trying to drive and close, or go big drive, partner close. Like, there's a lot of different ways, and therefore different ways to hit your drives to approach what you're doing with the third shot. But let's just kind of go over more basic drive form in its entirety, that's such that you would be able to apply it to any given one of those. And for Preston here, like, he's got a very fast wrist, so that's where all of his power is coming from, or most of it, which is mostly this, which is a good thing to have for a lot of reasons. But here you want to, harness it a little bit and rely on your body a little bit more, because the wrist has a little more variance in terms of its range of motion. So therefore, when you use it a lot, it might not always end up exactly where you want it. Therefore, you get varying heights and results, even though you got power. So you want to have a little bit of wrist motion, but more rely on the twist of the hips for the power, because that's much more consistent, because this doesn't have really a huge range of motion unless you're coming up a lot as you're hitting. So this is why using your hips for power and just kind of staying low through the ball usually keeps the ball low. And yeah, so I mean, you could get tons of power with the wrist plus the hips, but at that point it's usually not necessary for anything you're trying to do. So let's hit a few where you kind of focus on twist the hips, don't use quite as much wrist, and then we'll kind of get into the top spin part of things and what we're trying to do with it.
Just to be clear, I obviously drive a little bit more open than I'd say the average human. Should I be semi-closed so that I can allow my hips to go, or does it really not matter?
I prefer fully closed, honestly. Yeah, so open stance is a no-go. Semi-closed you can get by with. But yeah, I would go fully closed, just because it's the most fundamental way to do it. And you can vary it after you learn how to do that really well. Because once you learn how to do closed stance and hit, you get the feeling for what your hips should be doing enough to where then you can be like, okay, maybe I'm a little lazy on this one for whatever reason. I still engage my hips by twisting my core and all that. But it's best to start off with a fully closed stance.
More or less what we're doing.
Yeah, so now we're kind of going to get into what the wrist should be doing in terms of how we're generating topspin. So right now your hips, like you transition your weight well, you're swinging your hips well, you're staying pretty low. Now the thing that is causing a little bit of height variance is your wrist has varying contacts of how much it's open versus closed and all that. Basically your wrist is definitely moving a decent amount as you're hitting. So on the next, you try to do the same thing in all other respects, but when you get to about contact, right about here-ish, try to make sure the paddle's a little more closed than what it is currently, and that it's not doing this at all as you're hitting. Just close it more than you think.
And obviously low to high swing.
Always low to high swing, yeah. Yeah, so that one again is still, I'd say, not quite closed enough. It's kind of more flat when you're hitting it. So flat with a down to up swing is gonna create a ball that goes up. All right, now do the closed like that. Again, a little more down to up with that closed, and then again, fully closed stance if you can get there.
Give me a little more time.
That's nice. All right, so now with that, I would also say that it's something that is a little foreign to people that didn't play a lot of tennis is hitting the outside of the ball.
I played tennis at least 3 times.
At least 3 times.
That, yeah,
so can I have a ball
the
real
swing
quick?
path feels like he's hitting more inside. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's also a phenomenon in golf. It's how a lot of righties hit slices, basically. They come from kind of the outside of over here to the inside here, such that you're hitting the inside of the ball this way. So this is inside, this is behind the ball, this is outside. And now it's very like small, like the ball's not big, it's a small adjustment, but it actually makes a huge difference. So when we're hitting these drives, instead of just behind the ball, and especially not this, we want to be thinking hit outside of the ball, like so.
And I'm creating some sort of, not necessarily down, but
yeah,
I'm
not
dipping,
down,
I'm
but
over the ball.
It's certainly fine to be having it at least like this. Even if you did it like this, you kind of want to
Still close.
at least have something where you can feel the paddle is not perfectly straight. It's a little bit like this, and whatever manner you want to do that. If you want to drop the wrist a little bit, that's fine. If you want to just kind of bend it this way a little bit without dropping it, that's also fine. But just try to envision if you were to hit the outside third of the ball at contact.
Easy enough.
Leading into the ball, paddle's facing down, and then the rotation gets the paddle around the outside of the ball.
I wouldn't say that necessarily, because that would only work if you were to rotate with the proper contact point. And the contact point is not always consistent. So for instance, if you hit it more behind, like a little bit here, it hasn't rotated yet, so you're not going to get outside of the ball. It's more that you need to be thinking in your mind the paddle face with your wrist. Again, the wrist controls your range of motion, and it controls outside of the ball a lot as well. You want to think that wrist is at whatever contact point, paddle's outside the ball. Okay, because if you only rely on this pronation, this natural pronation of the wrist, that's not always going to get outside of the ball. It is if you contact it in front a lot, but not if you don't contact it perfectly in front.
So for most shots in pickleball, move your feet, proper positioning, open hips, everything. And then it's more set the wrist to meet it to where you're outside the ball.
Yeah,
I'm not really transitioning my wrist as I swing, right?
No, there's not a ton. It'll do some stuff naturally, which is fine, but I wouldn't really be thinking in that capacity. I would honestly mostly just be focusing in my mind on, let me hit the outside third of the ball in whatever way I can. We'll see what that looks like.
Outside third, check.
By the way, last time we did this, you said I had exemplary drive form. So I'll show you some videos of me you can work to mimic.
Ooh. Yeah, so I like that. Let's do that a couple more times. Do the same thing, but don't come up as you're hitting. Just kind of stay down through it.
And that'll stay low.
Start low, stay low. And it'll also help, especially on, like you can get away with that on ones where you're not coming in off of it. But if you are trying to hit a driving close, it's even much more important to do that. So good to have that.
I feel like his ball has a slight tail to it. Like it is still veering ever so slightly to the right.
He's not naturally hitting the outside of the ball. It's certainly not severely yet. It's more like behind the ball right now.
Okay.
So
you're getting around this ball right now.
Either way.
Get around it, bro. Get
I'm
around.
gonna hug this thing. Check that. Watch. Oh wait, it came up. Sorry.
So that one was good on the outside of the ball portion. Like it wouldn't be extremely outside of the ball, but it would be.
Yeah, that was very
outside.
straight, like a bullet. You just put a little spin on it.
Let me get a little bit of an earlier contact point. You're kind of letting it drop a good amount.
Okay.
So let's go peak bounce right now. That's nice. Let's do a couple more. Yeah, so again, I'd go back to focusing a little more on outside of the ball and close paddle with the upward swing in order to generate topspin.
It's really nice drive though.
Still outside.
Still outside though, huh?
Yeah, that's nice.
That was the best one yet.
Yeah. Honestly, like when you focus on outside of the ball, it is tough to like get outside of the ball and not have a nice topspin swing. Usually when people get outside, they naturally close the paddle face enough too, because you have to. So one of the reasons, like when I say close outside of the ball, that I really mean topspin is it just naturally happens. So it's nice to focus on that and also get topspin as like a bonus.
Well, I hope you guys can see this, but it's definitely more toppy every single time. And it doesn't feel like it's gonna happen, but.
Oh, I was catching him here, and now we're down here. I'm going underhand.
Yeah, you can still contact it a little bit earlier, and your swing path is still like, you are trying to get to the outside of the ball, but because you kind of come from like this angle, like try to think more starting outside and going to outside.
Do I need farther contact from my body? Because sometimes I feel like I'm doing this.
Like you tend to drop the paddle face and come here rather than being out here. So it is harder to hit outside the ball if you're closer to your ball.
I'm gonna get outside and around.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched tennis and like Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, they're like their arm is almost fully extended at contact.
Very far away, very far away.
Like, so like, I feel like you're coming in here. So just that full extension may be able to give you a little extra.
Outside and around.
I will say we're like a 34% increase compared to when you started.
I gotta get open more. Or close more, sorry.
You need more down to up swing.
Close more, yeah.
Contact the ball earlier at its peak, like you're still letting it drop a good amount. So that was a good contact point. Now, again, close paddle face, down up swing.
Let it drop. I got it.
Still dropping a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's peak. That's good.
Okay, a few more.
And again, still rely on that paddle face. Nice.
Woo! There we go.
Paddle face to take pace off. So instead of like not swinging as hard, like if you want to swing hard, that's fine. But you can also just close the paddle face more because that'll take pace off.
Okay.
When you kind of let it lag and that was inside of the ball.
Need a little more separation.
That was nice. Yeah.
I mean, if you could do that every time, you'd be the best.
Yeah. So just to kind of give you a little more of an extreme visual, let's. I'll hit like one very outside of the ball so you can kind of just see it. That one right there, you can see it's like, it's the very extreme. Like I wouldn't even recommend like finishing over this shoulder, this right shoulder. Like I wouldn't do that. I'm just saying that would be the extreme of an outside of the ball. One more.
Right.
So you can see it's actually curving like this. And when it curves from right to left as a righty forehand, you're definitely also getting a good amount of topspin.
Yeah. I mean, so in golf, we do a lot of exaggerated motions because when we actually do it in real life, it's nowhere near as exaggerated.
It's a drop.
So just hit a couple big exaggerated boys.
Let me exaggerate. I'm gonna exaggerate the heck out of this.
Like dip it in over there, baby.
I'm dipping, baby.
Yeah, so with that, if you are dropping that much, you need to swing up a lot to compensate.
Low to high, I'm exaggerating.
Yep, there you go. That's full outside of the ball.
I'm sick.
That's a wrap. Bang. And you also like to hit the top of the net a lot more. Again, when you drop the paddle face and you hit outside of the ball, you hit the top of the net a lot.
So pretty much for anybody, low to high, obviously. Never open stance. You said that's a no-no.
Yeah.
And then getting outside the ball, I have found to be wildly conducive to more topspin.
Yep.
Camera's probably like up your nose right now, but that's cool.
Got any boogies?
Thanks, bud.
Hey, Ben, you know what? You get a handshake, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Final parting shots?
No, I mean, I think if you want to rip hard, you just have good form. Because I know for me, I rip hard, and apparently form does not work. So do what he says.
But also, I'll tell you, drives were coming in less hard, but I had to stay in there because I knew they had a chance to land, and they were getting down lower. So they literally, not only are they more consistent, but I would definitely say more effective too.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're definitely dipping 10 times more than before, so.
All right, Ben, you can leave. Preston, I'm gonna feed you one. You think you can hit it over that fence?
That fence?
Yeah.
I don't know if a ball will literally travel that far.
Yeah, we're finishing right now. Preston's gonna hit one over the fence. Almost cleared the court.
One more. Back in, ready?
Check it. Of course.
Just for fun. Oh,
I think you could do it.
I think so. Yeah, that's a Franklin. This is bloopers for sure. All right, this one's gone.
Got a little precipitation.
I'm putting my body into this one.
Sunny court.
Oh! Warning track power.
It's gotta be possible.
All right, guys, I got it.
You gotta leave?
I'm leaving. Like,
Oh, you're leaving.
Oh.
My.
Everyone, we're saying bye to Erica here live.